I'll
Motion.
make the motion to approve. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
And I did do both. I think Rich got in there with the motion.
Keith, you want to give us the financial update?
Okay, there's not a whole lot to report on for February financials. Total cash and investments are $16,051,000. Total FAD investments are $10,195,000. And we have outstanding $442,000 worth of FAD commitments. And this month's expenses that the check run includes $108,700 for FAPCO for inserts and FAD basins, but they're not eligible for reimbursement currently for the DEP. So we'll have to make an adjustment to not take those out of the FAD funds.
The audit. Can we just talk?
Okay,
about-
I didn't know if that was next on the agenda or.
Oh, I don't,
not.
wherever you want to.
Okay.
Oh,
with,
it's actually, we got two more things before we get to that, or one more thing before we get to that. Linda, you want to do the reporting and filing due dates, where we stand?
Yep. So as far as the filing due dates are, we're up to date on everything having to do with that. But as far as the ABO compliance, we still have a few people hanging out there. James Schmidt has completed all of his compliance, and Lisa Katz is almost there. We just need her to complete her board member training. And then let's see, Jamie McGlasson, I'm aware that she did complete hers. I'm just waiting for her confirmation. And Robert Scarano and Dan Ciarcia. And lastly, Richard Becker of Cortland has to complete his training. And that's really it. We're getting closer though.
Well, baby steps, we'll get there.
Yes, yes. I'll keep reminding them.
Great.
Thank you for that, Linda.
Sure, you're welcome.
Okay, now we're up to the audit.
Okay. All right, the audit's been going, well. We just have, as far as I know, there's one schedule that we're still working back and forth on. It's a FAD related schedule, has to do with functional expense, where they allocate the expenses that aren't directly attributed to FAD projects, and we've got a small out of balance right now. We're trying to fix. They're saying that they'll be ready they said they could propose to have a meeting on as early as Monday morning or Wednesday or Thursday of next week. So I'm proposing that we just table this until Wednesday morning, 9:30.
Okay, and we're all set with the audit committee approving the audit? It doesn't have to come back to the board?
The board makes a recommendation to the full board to accept the audit, but I believe it's just the audit committee. And Chris, you may know better than I do on that.
Yeah, I sent you some references from your, hang on.
Yeah, the bylaws.
This is from from the FAD agreement and from your bylaws, right? The bylaws say that the audit committee is responsible for providing direct oversight of the performance of the audit. And the fiscal policies say that the audit committee, essentially Keith, in collaboration with the audit committee, reviews the complete audit report, note any deviation in report format from the scope, prove up the clerical accuracy. That's really probably more Keith than the board, than the audit committee, and then verify schedules and review and evaluate any question costs. So the audit committee that's part of their charter to review those reports, but of course the report should of course be presented to the full board. Our concern is that the audit committee has a chance to review it before it's submitted with the Paris filings, right?
I'm
So-
presuming that the audit committee, I mean, that the auditors will provide me with their documents prior to doing the presentation. That's what's been done in the past, from what I can see. So that the audit committee has a chance to see it.
So can you schedule an audit committee meeting for next week then?
I certainly can.
I mean, it seems like if, you know, you might still want to apply for an extension in case you have a problem getting the paperwork done in time.
Sure, that makes perfect sense.
I sent a letter to you. I don't know how the East of Hudson does it, but I sent the letter to you that has the info that we go through to file for an extension.
Okay, I just saw that. Thank you.
Okay, it sounds like we've got a path to get this thing done, so we should be good. Keith, project updates, Kevin? Keith.
The other guy.
It was a late night, I'm sorry.
So we are preparing for an installation down at Vales Grove, which will be coming up hopefully pretty soon. Just a matter of getting the installer scheduled. I do expect that to be this month. We're closing out on 2 projects in Carmel at Arborview at the top of the list, and Mount Kisco Commons as well. That'll be happening in short order, so we'll be able to submit it's approximately 30 kilograms to the DEC for inclusion to the program, which will bring us up to just shy of 680. Excuse me. We're also wrapping up construction at Scalpino Park in the town of Southeast, and I expect that to be ready for final payment in the next check run in April, which will get us net us another 5 kilograms approximately. Junior Lake, I expect to be able to install that hopefully very soon. It's just a matter of getting it through Fabco's production and scheduling that. I would think that might be a May installation.
Great.
And
Thanks, Kevin.
yep. And in addition to that, we have a few RFPs that we're going to be looking to go out for engineering services on. There's 2 in Lewisboro and some great opportunities in Yorktown as well. So I'm going to want to sit down with likely Dan Ciarcia and Supervisor Slater, go through a couple of those because those will be, I think, pretty new to you guys. But there's some good projects there that we can knock out a quick 20 kilograms, we think, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, let's do it.
Excuse me. And of course, Tony, we haven't gotten a chance to sit down and meet yet. But the projects down in Lewisboro were ones that Peter Parsons had moved forward last year with us. So I'd like to get a chance to sit down with you and go through what we're looking to do, how it's going to help us. One of those is in the Muscoot, one of them is in the Cross River. Cross River. So we'll be able to get some FAD work done out of the installation as well. Both of those projects will be great. If you recall, last year we talked about looking at tiered bioinfiltration for kind of those skinny, long easement sections that we might have around lake communities, and that's what we'll be targeting in Lewisboro in this run. We have made some progress on a couple of the ones down stuck in design, but we have a lot that is kind of teetering right at installation agreement level. Because of that, it's going to be important for us to come to a conclusion on what language we want to include in our installation agreements. And hopefully we can, I'm expecting to work on that probably offline with Chris and Rich Williams and anybody else who'd like to join in the conversation. But I think it's important that we lock down whatever language we're going to include in installation agreements on the private property, because there's a lot that can be sent out right now. And when we start looking at the list, and we'd like to wrap those up as best we can. If you remember, the conversation boils down to whether or not we're going to include language regarding environmental concerns that may be found on site and who's going to bear the ownership of that. Of course, if it's on town property, town's the owner, town's responsible. The question comes down to what we will do in the case of a private property installation where we're going on a local property of homeowner. that is being kind enough to let us in there to do some work versus commercial property, which clearly might hold a higher risk of environmental concerns. But we have to work through that. And I think pulling in members of the technical committee in addition to Rich would be the best way to try to narrow down that language. And hopefully at the April meeting, we'll have a finalized document for consideration for everybody and discussion. And we can go forward with the installations from there.
Kevin, I'd like to be involved in that. As you know, we're trying to solve our issue.
Right.
I have legal working on our issue today, but I honestly don't know how that's going to come out. So, to have a larger discussion about that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think it's especially down by you, Sabrina, we're even in a more special case because we're working on DEP property and the DEP's telling the town that they have to be responsible for the DEP's property.
Which is absolutely insane. So Vinny, maybe you can help there.
Yeah, it's yours of course is even more harder than all the others. But yeah, Vinny, if there's any input you might have on that.
Well, I'll get a read from my counsel today, hopefully, but I don't think that this is going to be easy, and I would hate to see us not be able to implement this project.
What site are we talking about?
This is at Court Mill Road, where we need to get a land use permit in order to fix up the property there. Two heavily eroded channels.
And what's the issue?
If you can follow the bouncing ball here, the issue is that U.S. Army Corps asked us to install language to make sure that they are not responsible for any environmental cleanup that occurs on site, and that it's whoever the sponsor is, the additional government sponsor. Now, East of Hudson doesn't hold any real estate in this. So while we are providing the funding, town of Newcastle will then fall to the responsibility of filling that role with U.S. Army Corps. Town of Newcastle is getting a permit for ownership through the DEP owns the property, but the town of Newcastle is holding the land use permit. So it's currently states the DEP is making the town hold the requirement of any environmental hazard that gets found through the course of asking for that permit.
But it's property.
But it's DEP property.
I will ask, that may be a standard clause, I don't know. You've been dealing with Matt Castor, I would imagine.
Yes, yeah, I spoke to Matt about it, and that's kind of the response that I got, was that it's a pretty standard clause everywhere on every project. If you want a permit, you have to take the land underneath it, which kind of gets us stuck, to say the least, because I understand the town of Newcastle's point of view here, very clearly understand it. So yeah, we're still trying to work through this. So we'll look forward to hearing some of the town's response to it, and then we'll continue to engage the land use permit division to see whether or not there's if logic can prevail, because it would be a shame to miss out on the Army Corps funding when they're ready to give it to us.
I will ask. I'm not sure I'll be able to get you a different answer, but
yeah, appreciate it. Coming up in June, I've been asked to speak at the Lower Hudson Lake Conference, which is in the town of Kent. It's a great opportunity to meet some of the local shareholders, I suppose, and lake communities as we keep looking to identify new projects. I thought it might be a great opportunity as well to see whether or not any of these individual smaller groups have had any septic studies, sewer studies done for their own lakes. And maybe not to that degree, but maybe if they have any kind of reporting, I was probably going to ask them to share that with us if they have it available. Many of these folks have engaged limnologists to do some studies on their lakes, and if there's any kind of reports that suggest septic repair programs for those individuals might be beneficial, clearly should get into the hopper for us as well, as we look forward to the state contract that ink is drying on currently We were able to receive that yesterday afternoon, and Supervisor Williams was kind enough to jump on signing it immediately. So we're just waiting for everything to be processed and get through the state, but we have confirmation at least that contract is back at them now. So that'll let us start planning ahead for the RFP for the $300,000 contract that came down through the state for the wastewater analysis. I recently spoke with Chris Burdick up in New York State, and he emphasized how important it might be for us to try to get that study done in a timely manner, even to the point of being able to file something with the EPA in the survey that is due in October, I believe. Supervisor Lucas had circulated that to many of us maybe about 2 weeks ago. And it's a survey that the federal government has released to help address and identify any water quality concerns that might be in place for everybody involved. And if we're able to have a solid report from an engineer to provide as part of our response, then it sure is going to make our request a little bit more valid, I think. And Chris Burdick echoed that point, and asked me to say hello to everybody at the meeting. And I think that we should start beginning to at least look at how quickly we might be able to get the response to the RFP back.
So what exactly do we have to do as the next step to do that? Is it just get some engineering firm prices and bids and stuff, or?
Well, we have to prepare an RFP.
I was going to say we need to write a scope of, but maybe we get one of them to do it for us instead of us.
Yeah, it's not.
Well, we have the scope. Yeah.
We have the scope. We just need to attach it to an RFP and put it out. And Kevin, have you started doing any of that?
Not yet, but our boilerplate RFP document is fresh. It was updated and reviewed by Christine's office, and so that's ready to go the moment we want to attach the scope of work. I don't know that we're really going to need to veer very far from that document as is. We might be able to just do a couple little tweaks, and then we might be ready to roll.
All right. Can you slide the scope into that document and circulate it to everybody?
Yeah.
And Kevin, we'll need to include the references to the MWBE and SDVOB goals.
Yes.
And specific, I would include the copy of the whole grant contract because there are specific requirements in there. Okay.
Yep.
Did I not see Keeler Hill up on here?
Keeler is on there. It's towards the bottom of the page. We are still.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah, still waiting for installation agreements with those folks, but still.
So do you need us to do
forward.
anything?
Not at this time. Unfortunately, the representatives at Snow Hill Farm had a bit of bad luck starting off the winter with an injury and illnesses, so it kind of got tabled for them. But those folks are put their attention back to it and expect to be able to move ahead and sign that off. That'll be the portion of the project towards the bottom of the hill that we can start immediately and just get it done.
They're the folks that wanted it done. So if they're not
Yeah.
getting right back to you, let me know. I mean, I'm in communication with Laura a lot.
Yeah, Laura's been great about moving this along. I'll touch base with her again and see how she's left off with it. But yeah, they're ready to go, and then that'll just mean we'll probably tackle that portion of the project, and then the second part of the project at the top of the hill we'll likely have to wait on until after. I think it's after September. I have to go back and look at our agreement again because that property owner asked that we not do anything during the gardening season, essentially. So I think she didn't want us on site till maybe October 1st.
Okay. And I just have one other question. You mentioned the Tenetta Lake one that we're kind of wrapping up. I had sent you, my dentist is over there right above Lake Tenetta. And I sent you that big drainage pipe that comes out onto his property that in a rainstorm was absolutely just brown dirt going into Lake Tenetta. I don't know who owns Lake Tenetta. Is it municipal owned or is it the homeowners, or do you know who has control? Who brought us into the Lake Tenetta to do the work that we're doing there now? Was it?
Well, we're not at Lake Tenetta right now, but previously we were on town property, I think, because we had one major project site that went in. I think it was SE Pot 01. That was a year 3 project that got sold probably 2014, 2015.
Well,
but we came in on town property in that. When we looked at,
I'm sorry.
When we looked at the project that you brought up, yes, 100%. There is way too much water coming through that spot, but it goes right into essentially wetlands in the rear. So it's really tight to try to do something with it.
I'm wondering if you can do something up the hill, but that's another.
Yeah.
I just was wondering who owned. Is it a unit? Do I talk to Tony Hay and tell him to take a look at it, see if he can figure out where it can be worked on?
I think so. I think it's gonna be Tony, and I'm not sure if that's a county. That particular spot is a county highway.
Yeah, I'm not even sure whether it's there. All I know is it's coming downhill from someplace and it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I think we can work on some of the stuff at the top of the hill, but then the project, if we were going to do any kind of project itself to get some treatment on it, then I think we would be looking at private property.
Yeah,
but I know Corey started pretty much a 10% evaluation there, just looking at what we might be able to do, what's coming down there, so we can take another look at it and see what opportunities we have. But I do recall there being 1, a lot of water, and 2, a lot of opportunities for reduction.
Did I send you that picture? Did I send you that picture in an email? Do you remember? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's quite a flood.
Okay. I'll follow up with Tony then.
Great.
All right, we have any update on the O&M program we need to talk about?
Nothing substantial. We're just waiting for processing all the checks to everybody as soon as possible.
All right, down to other business. I just want to mention that the comment period on the draft MS4 permit was a couple days ago. A lot of people put in a lot of good comments. We talked a little bit about Rich Franzetti's comments, but they also came in from North Salem, Patterson, Lewisboro, Bedford. Bedford did an excellent job in putting comments in, I think. I bring this up because the original permit, when it went out, had an effective date of April 27th, 2022. And part of the permit conditions were that, within, the end of the year, we were going to have to submit a list of projects that we were going to have to do. And I don't think they are going to make any changes. I think they're going to end up adopting the permit, maybe with a few minor tweaks, but I think most of the permit's going to be become effective in April. We're going to have to decide what we want to do individually and as a group with, whether we're just going to try to comply and suck it up, or, we're going to have a discussion about other alternatives to compliance. But we also have to talk about, coming up with another list of projects.
So is there any way to do an intervention? I mean, because in my experience, right, I'm dealing with a brand new town board who doesn't even dig deep in this. We did a full staff analysis, DPW analysis, which they didn't even circulate, as part of the comment. They just did, an overall letter, to kind of say that they were unhappy about everything. But, in looking at the costs, it's going to cause huge expense. And, I think, Rich, your point about, how can we approach certain things together as opposed to individually, I don't know, we need more conversation, I think, about the actual implementation.
I mean, they have to answer a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions asked, so I don't, you said April 27th. I'd be surprised if they're gonna get all the questions asked, answered and info back to us by that time.
They're not, Warren, but they said right from the very beginning of this, when they released it, that they weren't going to be addressing any comments that they felt they had addressed in the 2017 draft permit. That sent the message, I think, to everybody that this was a fait accompli, that, you know, they're gonna push this thing forward.
Well, maybe we can talk to Chris or something. You know, and try and at least come to a table where we can really talk about what changes need to be made in order to fully implement the permit that they're looking at promulgating.
Which Chris is that?
Chris Burdick.
Oh, yeah, he sent a letter to Basil Sagos. I sent that out to everybody also. I asked him to do that. You know, I had a simple question was, do I have to sweep dirt roads?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, things like that there's pretty simple answers, and they, regardless, I mean, hopefully, I mean, my guess is they'll probably say yes, but we'll see.
Listen, I think Chris Burdick has been a great supporter of the organization and continues to be. I don't know that Chris Burdick is going to be the answer in this, and I would be leaning towards talking with Chris Shale.
Well, didn't we do this last time? Didn't we go the legal route and put back a little bit on them?
Well, if I could just interject for a second, I think like when you guys are negotiating MS4 permits and coming up with future lists, isn't that more like a coalition issue? Is my understanding.
A what issue?
It's more like an East Hudson coalition issue. I think that the funding agreements in place are more for stormwater retrofits associated with years 1 through 10 at this point.
Well, I will say this, Vinny, that
That's I'm just reminding everybody of that. That's all.
yeah, I understand what you're saying, but the MS4 permit affects the corporation as well.
Yeah,
The
but we're
MS4
talking about
permit.
issues of sweeping roads and suing people. That's not really.
Well, would you be more comfortable if we adjourned and went into a coalition meeting?
Yeah, I would be. I think that's just.
But let's wait and adjourn and go into a coalition meeting.
All right.
And just when you start asking, you know, road and housing and trail to do things, certain expenses shouldn't be paid with DEP, or my understanding, water quality funds through this organization. Just, you got to keep on the scope of what that money was for. Does that make sense? Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think that's a fair statement, Vinny.
Okay.
All
Perfect.
right. I just wanted to have a 5-minute conversation about the permit and the next steps, because again, we're going to have to come up with a list of projects under the, you know, the requirements of the permit.
No, and I agree, and I generally try to just not interject that, but when I start hearing about, we need to talk to Chris, and I just want to, because people keep reminding me back here, so I just want to make sure I convey that message.
Understood.
Thank you.
All right. So so is anybody interested in having a discussion just on the permit, setting up a coalition meeting? All right. So why don't can you do it?
I can with my right hand.
All right.
I saw the greener try there, so I had to.
All right, I will reach out to the powers that be, because I think we have to do this through Joanne and schedule a coalition meeting.
Yeah, we got a letter from one of the other folks at Chemung's, whatever it was. You got copied on that. I was just sending it out to the other supervisors also.
Listen, I got copies on letters from a lot of different places. Did you get them? I thought you were on all of them.
Yeah, I got a bunch. I don't remember what I resent out, but yeah. There's a lot of people across the state not too happy with this.
Oh, yeah. I love Blues Nell's letter. I thought that was an excellent one. So,
Yeah.
All right. So then I guess that will bring us to a conclusion, unless anybody else has any other business they want to talk about.
Nope, thank you. We're gonna do the coalition right after this, correct?
No, I'm gonna schedule it for a different time because we have
Got
to
it.
notice it.
Understood.
Okay. Linda, I've got a meeting at 11 o'clock and I should be free hopefully about 11:45, the earliest. Okay. All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody.
Warren,
have
are you doing Leonard Nimoy there, Warren?
I was trying to, Sabrina was doing it so well. I was never seen anybody that looks like Winston Churchill and Leonard Nimoy.
There we go.
So everybody live long and prosper.
Amen.
Have a good day.
Warren,
It's more
Warren,
person
are you
shortening
available?
my life.
Linda, I'm here. What was the question?
Are you available this
I
morning?
am available to sign stuff, yes.
Okay, I'll be down in a little while.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have an 11:30 for a little bit, but after that, I'm fine.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Have a good day.